Hello, my name is C0unt WAVnstein. I am the co-founder and audio tech of Phosgenic Ripper Productions, and I'm going to go through, have a look at some of the stuff we've been up to as we go into 2026. So the main projects we've been working on at the moment are Angry Trees, Rage, Fear is a Prison, Operation Discord, Dying Souls, and have I missed anything out? And we've been doing collaborations with Quattle Hammer, who are another local musical group consisting of Jack Burton and Bruno Stachel, who both like working with synths and are into kind of retro movies and computer stuff, particularly harking back to the old Amiga sounds. These are also an integral part of Fear is a Prison and Operation Discord. Most of the drums in those projects were done with drum samples that were recorded on an Amiga's poly chip way back in the late 80s, early 90s, and they have been collected and made into a library which you can download online. I will include a link to that in the description. So Fear is a Prison is one where it's really my solo project. I tend to use it to have my political rants. I found that just getting into stupid arguments on Facebook was unproductive, then got into the dreary business of threats of violence and such like, so doing it this way gives me an outlet for my politics, which does not involve direct face-to-face name calling and gobshiting between myself and other people. It's primarily trackers and synths. The trackers have had, as I mentioned, hard back to the Amiga days. I use Fast Tracker 2 now rather than Pro Tracker, just because it gives you more tracks. This one in particular gives away my kind of left sort of anarcho-socialist leanings, which I make no apology for, but everyone to their own. I'm always up for a good debate if it's done in a civilised manner. So a lot of the sounds here come from the booklet easel, which can be downloaded from Arturia. And for those who don't have a lot of money, you can use it with limitations. You get 20 minutes, which frankly, if you're recording a song, is more than ample. And if you're using Reaper, you get the booklet of the sounds you want, then do a live bounce and it will record it and you can import it back in, snip it to size. If you've got plenty of money, it's well worth purchasing under products. If you go into this site and do a search, you'll find it. Probably under software instruments. Yeah, there's actually, excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold at the moment. There's actually a lot of really cool stuff in here. No, let's not play that because that's not one of mine. And we don't want copyright issues. We'll possibly have to mute that part of the video when it's being edited. Anyhow, this Rage's new song. Rage is a kind of one-man band operation. He's well, he was born in Holland, but he actually grew up in the Faroe Islands, so a genuine Scandinavian metalhead. The photo was actually taken nearby where I live in Ayrshire. We do get some cold weather down here, so maybe not quite in Faroese or Norwegian levels, but we get some days here in winter where it'll be well below zero, so similar kind of atmosphere to your frozen Norwegian forests. This is all guitar driven, and he loves writing and singing about demons. He kind of released an album called Encased in a Frozen Waterfall with us last year, which is really cool, well worth a listen to, and it is definitely on the channel here. There it is. It's really dirty, smelly guitar sounds. It was done years and years ago, 25 years ago, on Renoise, and it turned up on an old laptop with Linux on it in his loft. And we managed to kind of do a lot of remixing, restoring and remastering, and kind of get it back together again. Some of the tracks, the Renoise files were still there, so we could just do a mix with the native Renoise plugins, which are really good. So we did that in tracks with the Demon's Call. Some of them we just had to restore from old kind of Vorbis files, and we had to kind of retrack bits of bass and vocals and put drum hits and stuff in just over the original Vorbis file to kind of pull it together. But it ended up sounding pretty fucking good, and for the kind of music it is, a bit of rawness in the production really doesn't hurt it. A lot of like the original black metalers like Galvin the Gill from start drawing are really into kind of DIY approach. Don't go in for the fancy studios where you spend 50 grand in a choir, then another 50 in an orchestra, and all that kind of overproduction and over processing. And Varg Vikernes from Burzum was a great advocate of actually going out his way to use the worst equipment he could find to actively rebel against the nice 80s wall of reverb production. Now going back. So this one, Rage and Dying Souls, that was a jam we had between Christmas and New Year, which really just involved drinking too much, getting blazing and firing it down in a few hours. See what happened. But, it was a fun project, it turned out good. In the initial test mix here you can see this is Hacking from Rage in the middle here. That's me. This is Stephen and Gwen from Operation Discord and Dying Souls. And this is Susie Blue from Angry Trees. So we do kind of transfer and cross-pollinate ideas. We all get on well and we have fun working these projects together. Down here, Dying Souls. So that's me on the guitar and that one. Stephen in the bass, Gwen in the vocals, and the good old tracker on the drums. Sometimes use FL Studio as well. It's got some really cool synths in it and really cool collection of drum samples. So this is trying very much to get close to the kind of sound of bands like Satyricon and Burzum, Mayhem, the original Dark Throne, the original black metal bands, Cadaver. That was another one that I liked, and under Zodin. I've never met him, but from what I've seen of his online presence, he seems like a nice guy. Varg also has a YouTube channel where he does a lot of discussing politics and the black metal scene, which as a fan of black metal I find it quite interesting listening to stories of one of the original big guys who started it off. This one here, this is Moonstruck. this is kind of one of my pet solo projects, although I do sometimes collaborate with others on it. You can hear the guitar sounds very similar to Dying Souls, which is not really surprising because it's me that's playing in both cases. And again, this is trying to get the nastiest guitar sounds possible. So what I did, have a guitar pedal called Boss Metal Zone, and I don't know if there's one about here very similar, no, God knows where I put it, but I have a wee tiny 1 watt Marshall amp. It's about that size, and when you play the Metal Zone pedal through it sounds absolutely terrible. But on this track here, they've actually got a Digitech RP50, and it has a sound on it which, when you scoop off the low end EQ, it sounds very similar to the Metal Zone played through the wee micro stack. So I tend to use that these days just for reasons. You don't have to start daisy chaining things together with patch cables. So this is my growing up around here as a kid. You drive up and down the coast here, you get kind of white old ruined castles on top of cliffs, and old ruined kirks and graveyards and forests. And when I was a kid, and to this day actually, I really love that stuff, always did. So that kind of feeds into and inspires, you could say Moonstruck is basically about and inspired by the local landscape and dark winter's nights. No. So we have somewhere. This is Angry Trees. This is Susie Blue and myself's project. And this is Total Departure from certainly the black metal stuff and from Fear is a Prison, because in this one we do go for kind of good production values, Susie's a kind of opposite of me. She will just go all out. Like, she could spend a whole day just finding the perfect drum sound that she wants. Whereas if I was working on devices, I would basically expect the whole track to be done by the end of the day. So this takes a lot longer. It doesn't have the same rapid release rate that Fear is a Prison has. However, what it does have is a level of attention to detail in the production that's a lot more arguably impressive. Again, we've been using the Buchwa synth in this project, so that kind of Georgia Moroder sound, that's where that comes from. So the samples in this were taken from Reefer Madness, which is a film about the dangers of marijuana from the 1930s, and if you haven't seen it, I would strongly advise you to watch it, because through 2020's eyes it is absolutely hilarious. But no spoilers. Right, let's see what else we've got in there. Fears of Prison's Christmas Greet. Every year at Christmas time I put out a very sarky Fears of Prison song. And I don't know if you'll maybe be able to see this if I turn this around. The tailor's dummy over there is still dressed up in the Christmas lights and the red tie. Those little skulls there, they come from this Commodore 64 graphics book that my father, God rest his soul, bought me when I was a kid. And one of the things I had was this skull and crossbones here, which I still love to use to this day.
The issue isn't whether you're paranoid, Lenny. Look at this shit. The issue is whether you're paranoid enough.
So let's see what else we have in here. Born Bunch. So this one I've not discussed yet. Operation Discord. So Operation Discord is kind of a mythology about future where everything's ultra conformist and everyone's watched over by machines constantly, and everything's grey and broken down and everything looks the same. It's something I've been thinking about for some years now and writing about, but I thought that maybe by the 2030s, 2040s we would kind of get there, rise of fascism and kind of crumbling of societal structures, but we seem to be making much more rapid progress and seem to be pretty much there now. really shocks me how much was come through already. So this is almost like a crossover, Gwen, who writes the lyrics and does the vocals for Operation Discord, and myself worked on a project called Popping Cherries for 20 years, and we kind of switched the branding from that to Operation Discord and Down Souls when Stephen came in as a bass player, because we felt it was kind of unfair and that when we're all contributing ideas, we had this kind of 20 years of canon behind us with Popping Cherries, which he felt kind of reluctant to encroach on. So by changing the branding, it means we all start off as equals again, and no one has like any kind of seniority over anyone else. We'd also went in a more electronic direction because my fingers are crippled now because of Dupuytren's disease, which ultimately you end up with hands like that to no of dexterity and a couple of fingers. I can already feel it even though it's at stage A. But it's much more difficult for me to play the guitar already. So having these electronic escape routes lets me kind of keep working without my hands getting hurt. When I'm doing the Dying Souls and Moonstruck guitar, I do it in like 30-second bursts and just record and use a multi-track recorder to aid me in it. That's another one with the Taylor's dummy we actually used her for one of the Operation Discord videos, and which I'll probably have here, but can't be far away. Not that one, this one. So she appears somewhere in this one. So the concept here was we were kind of doing the whole Frankenstein and Herbert West Reanimator thing. With me playing the mad scientist. So I'm kind of dressed up in a lab coat and a 1970s necktie, like an old 70s Open University professor. Yeah, there she is. And after shooting that video, she's ended up living in my house, so I decided I might as well use her for stuff. There's Gwen enjoying that far too much. So So Discord, Moonstruck, so you get Discord album out, a couple of Fears of Prison ones, and I did a Moonstruck album this year. Some of these, so this was an experiment with AI, and usually don't use AI in my videos, but thought since it's there I might as well see what it can do. The AI, they're using Midjourney for the video footage and Copilot for the text, and Copilot invented its own form of assembly language for this, which it calls NPAL, Neon Phantom Assembly Language. Not quite sure what hardware it could possibly run on, I'd imagine none, but it gave me some fun stuff to put into the videos. So you don't really get a lot of precision with what the characters in the video are doing. So basically it's just a case of shooting loads of it, then snipping it up and joining it together to get likes of this bit where the woman holding the gun there, the idea was that she'd shot the one that was lying on the ground. These two are fighting over a mobile device. Now this was actually quite tricky to shoot because when the woman spun round, instead of moving them to opposite sides of the screen, the AI just flipped her face for her face, and it looks completely ridiculous, so I had to do quite a lot of editing around it. So certainly, I mean, as of at the moment, the AI is not just letting you shoot precision. You know, you can't do precision directing with it. Where I will stand by the use of it, if I'd wanted to actually create that without AI, I would have had to hire 2 young women. I would have had to buy the outfits for them. I'd have had to hire a 3rd woman to do this, get all the props, the guns. No, then you get 2 more women, so let's say I paid them each £100 for the day, plus the price of their uniforms, plus the props. You're looking at the guts of £1,000 by the time the video's done. And that's just for like 2-3 minutes of footage. So let's see, what else do we have? The spiral dance, this was me actually trying to do something kind of as a departure from just passing in money about the state of the global politics situation and the coming AI apocalypse and the climate apocalypse, and trying to get back to my old happy roots and do a few tracks about nice things. So Susie Blue collaborated in this one, wrote the lyrics. Although she wants to get somebody else to sing that because she's not too keen in the way I've done it. This was a collaboration with Bruno Stachel from Quattlehammer. The Angry Trees concept, the name came from Susie Blue because she, when she first came up here, she felt that Scottish trees are much angrier looking than the ones down south in Wales. So I found that quite amusing, and somehow it ended up becoming the name of our music project.
Don't be scared, be prepared.
It's kind of very 90s Raven House inspired, kind of acid house influences.
Don't be scared, be prepared.
I was quite into all that stuff when I was young. Still do love it, to be honest.
Get ready, get ready, get ready. Get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready.
So, towards the end of this is Bruno Stachel with the arpeggios here. They're brilliant.
Get ready, get ready. Don't be scared, be prepared.
So some of the Angry Trees is very light and bubbly and trancey, and then you've got other stuff where it's actually quite heavy and dark. So, excuse me. Well, this one was Moonstruck when it's filmed in South Wales. This place is really cool. It's an old slaughterhouse. And all the compartments are still open, you can just walk into them, and there's some pretty cool graffiti tags in there. So the kind of top end of the town of Monmouth is built on top of these slaughterhouses. It looks kind of like an old viaduct. But, it gives the top end of the town some guard against flooding, whereas the bottom end of the town's in a lake bed and that gets fucked every few years. That's the Mono River there, the slaughterhouses on the left. Oh, excuse me. Nasty little cold I'm recovering from. That is James Clerk Maxwell's grave. He is the guy who figured out how electromagnetism would work. But we've also figured out from his equations the speed of light and stuff like that. And the dancing woman, she's a second life avatar. Again, I did try to actually get a human dancer for that, but the one I approached wasn't available. So, going back. So the Eve of Rot. We borrowed this from the War of the Worlds.
No one would have believed in the opening quarter of the 21st century that human affairs were being monitored by a cabal of self-obsessed cretins. No one would have dreamed we were being coerced and manipulated, like the ringmaster leading the maggots off the cliff. Few men even considered the possibility of criminals and degenerates running an entire nation. And yet, across the Gulf of America, minds immeasurably inferior to ours regarded other countries with envious eyes. And slowly and surely, they composed their tweets against us.
So this one we invented our own glitch effect for by using a hex editor to chop out certain 8-bit values and subtract 1 from them by basically just turning the least significant bit from a 1 to a 0. For those who have no idea what I'm talking about, all you really need to know is we chopped a bit off the top of the dynamic range so that it distorts, and it gave us this really hideous crackle which you can hear there. I really loved it. The Operation Discord here, we got that by running around the country, taking photos of graffiti tags. So some of these are from reassurance Scotland. Some are from South Wales, and I think Gwen went on an expedition to Northern Ireland, not specifically to photograph graffiti tags, but she got a few while she was over there. There were some that I'd spotted on my way up from Wales in the Owen Valley. I can't remember if we ended up using them. Not quite in the Owen Valley, just a bit to the south of it, between there and Lancaster. Hey, Stephen is really good at these kind of mellifluous tones for the Richard Burton, but
No one would have believed.
so I think that covers most of the projects we've been working on. And I realise that that's nearly 15 minutes now, and it's quite a big ask watching someone to sit through that much of me talking. So, well, this was a fun one. This is a Rage. This is the first one I think we did in the restoration. That's so I'm going to get some nice feedback on it. So it jumps up a gear here after that long intro. Dun, 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 dun. So I can get kind of press ganged into doing that video. I just dragged us all out into the woods and get Susie to point a camera at us. So that's why he looks a little bit awkward in it. It was his first video and no time to prepare for it. But not bad for two old gits. Restoring a track from an old Renoise file. This Crosby Church, and you can see why in Scotland we don't get ancient churches like that being burned down, because they're all made out of rock and you can't really set fire to them. We have done a fair bit of sneaking into churchyards over the years, but with us it was just for photo ops. We never ever had any kind of concept of damaging anything. Frankly, I wouldn't like to see the churchyard being damaged because it is one of my favourite filming locations. And here's a Rage Fear is a Prison crossover. I like these scrolling text. So that was done with an Amiga 500. That kind of takes me back to the old days when you loaded up pirated Amiga games and you would get the crack draw coming up with the text scroller on it. Oh yeah, might actually be able to demonstrate that. I can just remember the name of this disc offhand. I've still kept a fairly substantial collection of Amiga Utilities discs. There's an app you can download. It's really easy to use, and it converts stuff into ADF format, which you can then run on Amiga emulators. There we go, also no windows or anything, it just loaded straight up into these menus, which you could then use to load the program you wanted. I will say that the floppy disk did have a very simple kind of DOS that it would boot up to if there was nothing else on the disk and it was DOS formatted. But you didn't have like a situation what you do now where you end up having like gigabytes of dependencies. The dependencies can actually end up being far bigger than the payload nowadays. But anyway, digressing, so here's a scroll editor. So if I type in F4, that sets the speed of the scroll, and fear is a prison, or the best in the west, for lo-fi, dystopian. For some reason in this key map, no doubt because it's foreign, the Y and the Z are the opposite way around the keyboard. Electronic music. Then when I come out of here, see the message, and there you go. and because I want that to be in a video file in the end, you would just use something like OBS to screen cap it. So yeah, had a lot of fun with that. Just nostalgia, like, it was my first kind of, we had been using computers since I was a small kid, so I knew my way around the old BASIC, and I could read assembly language to some extent, although I'm not by any means an expert in that. But on the Amiga, that was when I started to really get involved with other people, and we got quite heavily into the piracy scene, or Juarez, or Weir scene as they called it. And I can talk about that openly now because we got caught. The long arm of the law found out, and they took my friend's computer away. He kept my name out of it for fear that under police questioning I might reveal some of his other sidelines in pharmaceuticals and stuff like that. But I can talk about that now without doing him any harm, because sadly he passed away some years ago. So, coming out here. So yeah, that's basically the projects we've been up to in Phosgenic Ripper for the last 12 months or so. I've had quite a lot of fun doing it. Not much in the way of commercial success, but that's it's not really something any of us are interested in. We're far more concerned with being allowed to do the things we want to do the way we want to do them, which is why we set this up in the first place, so that we can just put our stuff up on the net for anyone who is interested to listen to or download it. So yeah, it's deep underground, it's meant to be deep underground. If I wanted to be famous on social media, I would just go on and talk about politics, because when I do that, my most innocent utterance on social media will just attract lots of people going absolutely mental. So I've no doubt that I could become quite a well-known YouTuber, TikToker doing that, but I don't really want to take the dairy for it. That's why I don't. I like being able to walk down the street safe in the knowledge that nobody will know or care who I am. And anyway, we're coming up to 1 hour now, so I shall call it a day here. Thanks for watching if you made it to the end.